Hi traders, this is Nico with 7 Points Capital and also Riley with 7 Points Capital from our Toronto office. Riley, say hi.
What's going on, guys?
All right. So, um, yeah, we're gonna do a joint trader takeaway today, and I think that's basically enough to get going. Anything else you want to get out of the way, Riley?
No, that sounds good. We both only had one trade, so merging them together is plenty.
Awesome.
Going
Yeah,
after. So
great. Well, I guess I'll jump in there with I'll go first. I traded OXBR today. Um, I guess the thought it's kind of, just the same process over and over each time. Understand, look for the catalyst, understand the catalyst. Why is this up? Why is this moving? That kind of thing. Form a gentle bias, I'll call it, and then I think the rest of it comes down to timing and risk management at that point. Um, for me, this was an interesting one because SSR was on, so the morning jog off the open was a pretty good run for this name. I guess I could pull up the daily chart so we could see what's going on there. Um, and that was also a part of the trade for me, was checking out the daily and looking, what happened on other big volume days on this name. Where did it end up, or what did it end up giving back on the day back in July last year, and then also back in February, it looks like, of this year, a couple months ago, a few months ago. And we got a little more volume today, but I was looking in the end for a similar candle to those two. So looking for a big tall top wick on the day, which ends up being what we got. I didn't stay for the entire move like I wanted to, but I'm very happy with how I traded it and got a lot of meat out of there. Um, SSR was on, so I was mostly happy with where I was routing my orders. I was getting some really nice execution, some really nice fills. Um, finding some liquidity in between the bid and ask. Trying to hit bids, but still getting some fills just beyond it, which is really nice when SSR is on. So that was tremendously helpful. Um, and I just kind of waited for it to get weak, kind of slow down, form a top of its own, retest and fail, and come back down and try and get in there and cover the dips and just kind of do it over and over for the rest of the day. And same thing. Now, the interesting thing with this trade for me was I'm sure a lot of people traded it, but it had a lot of, I was trying to be respectful of it to see if it did want to stand up and sprout some legs and get moving and start really doing a really nice squeeze after highs. So as it turns out, though, it ended up most of the time it did that. It was just kind of shares changing hands. I felt like from weaker to stronger, and they became more of selling opportunities for longs and shorts more than anything. And you'd start to get some fades, which were really nice. I guess beyond that, playing off VWAP was very important to me. Um, Covering dips below VWAP on the pools, we'd bounce back up over VWAP, try selling those pops again, etc. This, are you seeing the cursor? Does the cursor show up for you, Riley?
yeah, it's showing up.
Okay, so this cover right here was probably my best part of the entire time trading it today for me because um, I just felt like we weren't unraveling as much as I wanted it to. We're staying just under VWAP here. I'm getting bigger as we fade down, but it just wasn't falling apart. There was no sign of it rolling over, and I just decided to lock it in here in case we got some possibly fake news VWAP push that I might be interested in, selling some more up top. And I wanted a clear head doing that. I didn't want to already be short if that opportunity came. So I ended up covering it all here, which was great. And then as we pushed up over VWAP, it formed basically exactly how I was hoping, and I was able to get short. Um, on these candles up here and write it down and get some real nice meat out of it again. Um, and that was basically the trade for me.
Hmm. Do you mind pinpointing where you were actually flat at times?
Where I was actually flat, sure. So I took the bulk of it off here. This is my first short on it. And then I left some on, but stopped out the remainder here.
What's remainder, like a quarter, a third?
That was, I think, a quarter right there. From, yeah, that was a quarter remainder. On this next one, I was playing some more size, and I took it all down here, down under VWAP. I got flat here
Okay.
on that pull. So this was me starting to get short again on this pop, and then getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I got flat here. So this is end of that trade. Here I took a starter on it. Um, got a nice red candle on it. It was kind of tough because of SSR at times, but I ended up covering this top here on the starter just in case. I was wondering if we'd ramp up here and start pressing on highs, but it just didn't happen. And when that didn't happen, I felt safer again to get a starter back on and then get bigger. And on these candles, fail VWAP, get bigger. And then, of course, this was when I got flat again on it.
Okay. So you were getting flat and recessing anytime it moved too quickly or just felt like there were some red flags. It was kind of holding too well.
Yeah, exactly. I've definitely wanted to lock in and make, I think my most important, my biggest advantage, I think, as I traded this name today was being flat at the right times to take advantage of the next opportunity as it showed up for me, as opposed to having my size on, letting it go against me to some extent, and I'm just not fully available to take the opportunity that becomes after that.
Hmm. No, I completely agree.
Yeah,
Is there any point in this chart that you felt like by far the most conviction in any of these trades that like you felt like it was like, I mean, that last trade obviously maybe you made the most on per share, but did you feel best about it that
I
much?
think so. I mean, everything else before was not as high as a conviction because I just wanted to respect the fact that this could, I mean, especially this time of day, for example, here, the potential for it to reclaim VWAP, time of day, volume coming into it. And I mean, it could have just as easily, I feel like, started squeezing and pressing shorts on, near highs. So I didn't want to mess with that. I want to be cognizant of that and respect the possibility and the potential of that. Definitely the last trade was the biggest conviction for me after failing the VWAP reclaim with the volume up here, and it did end up being just kind of like a fake news VWAP push.
Hmm.
I was trying to get more size on. I did want to get bigger, but it was difficult because of SSR. The route I was using was on balance, I was very happy with the fills I got, but there was definitely times where I wish I could have smashed some bids and just put my size on where I wanted to. But just you're not afforded that luxury with SSR.
Hmm. All right. No, that's pretty sweet. Was there when it did have that backside and you were on that last trade, like what area, if it reclaimed, would you have just said, okay, that was too far of a reclaim. I'm gonna avoid the short side.
Yeah, so
What kind of
actually, it was right on my last ad that I was able to get on. If this was gonna hold this higher low here versus from here, and press on this recent pivot and get back above VWAP, and we got some nice volume coming back into it, I probably would have just locked it in and walked from it. I don't even think I would have held it to um, because when I got this last add-on, I adjusted my risk, so I brought my risk level down to just above VWAP, basically just above that pivot in VWAP, just to explain that part. Because if it would have held that higher low and then start getting above that pivot in VWAP, I don't want them again. Now we're it's churning. Maybe it's just churning and it's working me out. That's fine. But at that point, I just want to take what I've taken from it and be gone.
Okay. That was a full stop you adjusted?
For the entire position, right? Yeah, full
Okay.
risk. Yeah, full stop, right?
Okay. Interesting.
Um, I would have preferred, I would have preferred, much rather preferred to hold till the bell, at least keep a portion on. I had I think that was part of my initial plan, but I got so much generous meat out of it. I kind of modified my plan. So I slapped myself on the wrist for kind of not following my original plan and holding a piece on for the 4 p.m. bell. If I would have done so, I at least would have gotten obviously another, it looks like 40 cents out of it roughly. But
Yeah. I mean, even your, I don't know, man, your average cover looks pretty good. Seems pretty, I'd be completely content with it, but
yeah, thank you. Yeah, just pointing that out. It's a balance of I'm setting a plan and I'm trying to adjust my plan accordingly in the trade. Obviously, risk reward is being modified while the trade is developing and you're in the trade. And sometimes I'm making right calls about adjusting my plan, and sometimes I'm not. And you always find out afterwards what happens. But on balance, definitely a great trade, a great day for me, and very happy with it.
for sure. And this is all you traded, eh?
That's it, man.
Pretty sweet discipline, mate.
Hey, thank you, thank you. Well, let's jump into yours. Let's give this pause one video pause, and I'll get your chart up. 1 second.
All right, guys. So I also only took one trade today, ACER. This thing was down like 80% off. They got like one drug. They flopped or had a CRL. I wasn't even looking to trade it at all, but I basically just was able to identify like an anomaly in the price action that I thought I could exploit. Um, so even though I didn't really have a short or a long bias, I just kind of was able to identify a few like a difference in the price action that I thought shouldn't be occurring, that I might get a move out or a move might come that people aren't expecting. So like if you kind of notice at like 10 a.m. Nico, it kind of like got smacked like 30-40 cents or something, and then it got bought back up.
Yeah.
It also like you can't really see, it's just to the left of this, but like the first opening candle kind of like wash, it got bought back up, consolidated a bit, got smoked again, got bought back up, like almost 100% retracement of the smack candle, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it kind of messed around again, and then got smacked again back to that same area. And then all of a sudden this time it couldn't bounce like the previous bounces. Like the buyers just couldn't buy it back up, and either people were done buying it or maybe the seller got aggressive. But like if you look at like pre 11 a.m. versus after 11 a.m., like the price action was quite different, right? All of a sudden it was able to hold down near the lows, and it wasn't able to do that before.
Sure.
The bounce was half the size as it was prior, and just consolidating down near those lows, I felt like the price action was quite different versus the morning. So I didn't know if, yeah, the buyers left the building or the seller was starting to get more aggressive. All I know that there was an anomaly in the price action, and I was going to be able to exploit it probably. So even though I didn't have a bias, I just thought, okay, that was an indication that we're likely going lower, at least near term. So yeah,
When
when I
yeah,
started,
sorry, once I want to ask, so when you say anomaly in the price action, are you talking about something that you're seeing both on the tape, on the order book, and on the chart, like all these things put together, or are you talking something more specific? Um,
I think both of them. So like I think it started on the chart, which is why I was able to identify something a little funky was going on. And then I also noticed that there was a huge 30, not a huge, like he was hidden selling at 435.
hmm.
So it was showing like 100 or 200 shares or something, and it was taking in a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It did flip up one time at like noon, and then it immediately reclaimed, and it was just once again showing 100 shares and just taking in. Like it's not like this thing was super liquid, but it was taking in obviously way more than 100 shares.
Right.
So it kind of went from like the chart telling me something was different, and then I was able to identify it on the tape a bit as well.
Gotcha.
Because like I mean, you may look at this chart before it got smacked and think, okay, this is just a snooze fest. But like, if it was a snooze fest, it likely would have just been like continued to chop instead of like giving me this kind of hint in the chart or the price action or the tape that something was different. Like I think it would have just bounced around VWAP, messed around with 450, and just kind of screwed people on every other side of the range.
Yeah.
So like, especially if you like flip this chart, I mean, it looks quite bullish, just like it does. Like it's kind of maybe a little bit tough to identify how bearish it looks, because like even a guy in the office that I was telling about, or showing this trade after I made it, he was like, "Well, I would have just looked at this as like a snooze fest." But like the fact that the price action did something that it shouldn't be doing was kind of like an indication that it's not as snoozer as it probably may look on the
Yeah,
chart.
yeah. It's
So
nice when the charts talk to us and gives us little clues, you know?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, basically, I mean, it would have been nice to get some more ads in before it broke because like it did start to break that 30 area, which it kind of held a few times,
Were
and
you
then
trying to, but you just weren't able to because of SSR?
I wasn't actually. It was like it didn't the tape and the spread and stuff. It did look a little funky. Like it was tough to trust just because it wasn't that liquid, and to get quite big on this thing, and it could easily just flipped up like a dime. 15 cents would have been a little iffy because like even though it was coming down to like 31, all of a sudden it would be like 31 by 35
Mm-hmm.
instead of like 31 by 32 for a few minutes, and then boom, all of a sudden there's just no other offers. And then but once it did break 30, I probably could have piled in a little bit more because that was the first time I was able to just adjust my stop a bit and just knew that like okay, it either goes now or it doesn't. So
Okay,
just
so
kind
when
of
it broke 430, that's when you adjusted your risk.
yeah.
Okay, and before that, your full risk was
It was off. It was off like 44. So it was actually a little bit wide just because I had planned to be adding in and I knew it needed a little bit of wiggle room through the lull.
uh-huh. So basically where the last pivot was, that last lower high.
Yeah, basically that just like a penny or two below it. I figured
Gotcha.
it bounced like yeah, I was basically just gauging if it was going to have the equivalent bounce as it did earlier. I didn't want to be involved because no longer would it be an anomaly. It would just be doing the same thing. If it was able to bounce as much as it could earlier, it yeah, the seller just wasn't pressing like I was looking for.
Then the trade's not there for you anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point that I thought it'd be broken.
Outstanding.
So and
Outstanding.
then yeah, after it broke, I mean, I just unfortunately I did cover a little bit too early on a chunk. I covered
I was going to ask
actually
you because I see the first set of covers. It looks like you got three executions versus then you got two lower and then one after that. I was
they're
going to
not
ask
all the
you.
same size though.
Okay, I was going to ask you like
So
what the breakdown was roughly
yeah,
of the.
it was half size at a 12 average because it was like 1/6 at 13, 12, and 11.
Okay,
Um, and then that's just because I didn't want to have on an SSR name too big of orders all at the same spot.
sure,
So I didn't want the algos to kind of run away from too big of an order at the same price. So I just split it into three separate. And then at that point, I mean, I did kind of think, okay, maybe I shouldn't have took off half, but the give back potential on the previous dips were a little scary how quickly it could retrace. So I took off half, and then I took off another quarter at zero point 0.02 and another quarter at 92.
gotcha,
Um,
gotcha. Nice. Yeah, I mean you nailed the wash beautifully. I mean look at all that nice volume coming into it on that low.
mhm. Yeah, and I wasn't sure if the seller was going to chase it down, so I figured I was just taking advantage of like all that long capitulation selling. So
Uh-huh.
that's basically what I wanted. I just wanted that quick money flow, and then I was reassessing it from cash, but yeah, it never really set up again, and then obviously it just rejammed.
Excellent, excellent. I like how you stayed with the trade. You know, you got short a little after 11, around 1140, a little after that, and you let it just play at that 435 level. You're nicely patient with that, waiting for it to see if it wanted to do what you wanted it to do.
Yeah, I didn't really think that there was any time stop on this trade. I
Gotcha.
thought it was more of a chart play and like a tape play, and I still saw that 35 hidden selling, and it just wasn't one of those situations where it was so liquid that it was to be trusted on every move. So I didn't think that a time stop was justified.
Gotcha. Yeah, great. Excellent, man. Well, nice work. And like you said, that was the only trade you took today also.
Yeah, I mean, I was staring at the one that you traded, but I just never really got that confirmation or that conviction I was looking for. I mean, the way that VVPR traded yesterday, I was a little bit skeptical that it was kind of trading similar, and even though the charts were quite different, I just felt like it was acting similar. So I was a little iffy on it.
That's funny you say that. I definitely had VVPR in mind from yesterday as when I was watching and trading OXBR today. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I think one thing to point out, man, is like this. I don't know for you, but like especially this week for me or people in the Toronto office, like it's been slower. But like, and full disclosure, like this was my only trade of the week so far. Even though I stared at my computer all day long, but like, I don't know, man. I think that's the way to do it.
Wow,
You just
great.
gotta be like, you gotta be proud of what you're doing to an extent, right? Like, I think the fact that we like get this title of being like traders makes us feel like we have to be trading all the time, but like
Common misnomer, right?
yeah, like we're just here to take advantage of opportunity, and like if you can sit there and be disciplined and only do only trade when there's opportunity. I mean, that's definitely, I think, the way to go. Because, like, I guarantee if most people were honest with themselves these last 2 days, if they've traded the equivalent as they were like the last week or the week prior so far, I bet the quality of their thesis or their trades they took were not as high.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I definitely don't think the opportunity's been there, but if you just sit on your hands, all of a sudden your lane will show up again.
I love it when you say that. Wait for your lane to show up and then get right in there.
Yeah. It'll show up, man. It just comes out of nowhere. Like even this is like the border, like the edge of my lane, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it just at least gave me enough ingredients that I was able to get in there and do something with it.
And make a week for yourself apparently. If that's your first trade this week, man. That's great.
Yeah, get me back on track somewhat. I hope hopefully there's a little bit more action.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Great. Well, hopefully everyone enjoyed this trader takeaway. It's kind of obviously a slight different format than usual. I know I very much enjoy doing it with you, Riley. Um,
Likewise, mate.
yeah, great. And that's it for me. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, man, that's all.
Outstanding, outstanding. Well, thanks for checking us out, guys, and we appreciate your support, and we'll look forward to doing this again. Thanks, Riley.
Take care, guys. Have a good night. See you,
Cheers.
Nico.